She arrived at Hawthorne Elite Range under the piercing California sun, her shadow stretching long across the sleek black marble steps. Her name was Imani Brooks, 26 years old, and every step she took crackled with silent defiance. Her skin, deep and radiant, gleamed in the sunlight, beautiful, undeniable, and instantly out of place in the sea of pale privilege. Her coat was faded denim sleeves, rolled her braids wrapped in a simple bun at the nape of her neck. Across her shoulder, an M1 Garand rifle wood, darkened from age metal, etched with time. It wasn't a showpiece. It was legacy. Passed down from her grandfather, who had served in the 761st Tank Battalion, the Black Panthers, when the world still debated whether men like him should hold a weapon, let alone defend a country that barely saw them as men. But the man at the front desk didn't see that. All he saw was a black woman with no tactical gear, no entourage, no gleaming case. Just her standing tall. "Hold up," the receptionist barked, his eyes flitting from her jacket to her rifle to her skin. "VIP lanes don't allow, unregistered guests." Imani offered no expression. "I'm a guest. Here's my pass." He barely looked at it. "We usually don't allow unsupervised visits," he added, as if searching for a reason to deny her. From behind her, a voice chimed in male, young, smug and white. "They letting in janitors now." Laughter followed. Snickers rippled from a group dressed in tactical couture, Kevlar vests that had never seen combat, 6,000 optics, and customized everything. Another boy added, "Someone forgot to lock the maintenance closet." A third whispered, "She probably found that rifle in a dumpster." Imani didn't blink. She scanned her pass again. The scanner beeped green. The receptionist's face twitched. "This is probably a mistake," he muttered, stepping aside with reluctance. As she walked past, the comments trailed her like smoke. "I bet she thinks this is an arcade. She's about to embarrass herself. Hey, at least live stream it. I want to see this joke unfold." Phones were already out. Captions typed in real time. "Who let the janitor in?" Hawthorne's first antique gun show. Black girl cosplaying as a shooter. Imani heard it all, every cruel word, but her hands never shook. Her breath never faltered. Her rifle stayed steady on her shoulder, and her eyes scanned the range like she was mapping the battlefield. Because to her, that's exactly what this was. They didn't know her. They didn't know that she had trained in silence for years, that she had grown up with her grandfather, teaching her how to control her breath before every trigger pull, that she had competed in underground ranges because no elite club ever made space for someone like her, that every shot she fired wasn't just for herself, but for every black girl who was told to stay quiet, sit still, be invisible. And they had no idea what was coming. Inside Hawthorne Elite Range, the atmosphere hummed with ego and entitlement. Chrome surfaces gleamed like mirrors. Glass display cases lined the walls filled with million-dollar rifles. Rifles never meant for war, only for flexing wealth. Each VIP lane was a private stage, and every shooter was an heir, a prodigy, or a legacy. Imani's boots echoed against the floor as she walked past leather lounge chairs, barista stations, and plasma screens showing live scores. The stares came in waves, sharp assessing, some sneering, most disbelieving. One screen switched its focus to lane 8, the lane Imani had been assigned. From the far side of the lounge, a young woman in full tactical designer gear raised her voice just loud enough to cut through the air. "Oh, we're doing community outreach now. Thought this was Hawthorne, not a public shelter." The girl's name was Vanessa Price, Olympic hopeful daughter of a sitting senator and the unofficial queen of the range. Her voice was syrup sweet but barbed. "Where'd you get that rifle, honey? Civil War reenactment?" Laughter followed, not a chuckle, a roar. Imani walked past her without a word. Someone snapped a photo of her from behind. The caption read, "Museum exhibit just walked in, Schaufenstein scrapyard shooter." Tyler Madden, son of a military contractor, reclined in a leather chair beside Vanessa. His rifle rested on a velvet-lined case beside him. She even got ammo for that relic. He jeered loud and clear for the live stream. "Hope they brought earplugs. We're about to hear some civil rights-era recoil." Imani laid her case down at lane 8. Her hands moved with smooth, practiced rhythm. She ignored the phones filming her. She ignored the sneers, but the range's comment feed was merciless. Hawthorne or Harlem. Watch her jam that museum piece. Someone call security before she sues for discrimination. It wasn't just mockery. It was racialized. Mockery. Her presence alone seemed to offend the room. The range director, Colonel Dean Blackwell, a stern, silver-haired ex-Marine, approached with a clipboard. His boots thudded with military precision. He didn't bother greeting her. "This is a professional facility," he said, eyes narrowing. "We don't allow amateurs with hand-me-downs and no pedigree." Imani looked at him. "I'm not here for pedigree," she replied calmly. "Just the target." Blackwell scoffed. "Let's hope you can find it. We don't need charity cases wrecking the numbers." That drew another round of chuckles. Even the assistant instructors leaned in to watch, smirking behind their hands. Then came the final insult. Ethan Cross entered, the golden boy of the range, rich, ridiculously handsome, and utterly arrogant. His rifle was carbon fiber black, custom built in Germany. His gloves matched his boots, which matched his vest, which matched the smile he wore like a trophy. He swaggered to lane 9, right beside her. "I'll make you a deal," he said with a grin that dripped with mock chivalry. "Beat my score and I'll pack up and leave, but when I win, you walk for good." The lounge erupted with laughter. The camera feed zoomed in on his smirk, then panned to Imani. The split screen read, "Ethan versus the maid, place your bets." Imani didn't flinch. She simply nodded once. Ethan cocked an eyebrow. "So you do talk?" She adjusted her sights. "No pressure, sweetheart," he whispered, "just your whole dignity on the line." Phones were recording. Viewers online were flooding the chat with flame emojis and bets against her. But Imani Brooks wasn't there for their entertainment. She was there for justice. For every sneer she'd ever swallowed, for every locked door, every scholarship she'd been denied, every time she was asked if she was in the wrong building. And she was about to make them watch. The range fell silent as Ethan Cross stepped to the firing line at lane 9, his every movement a performance. He clicked his custom scope into place, adjusted his gloves, and nodded toward the judge's booth like a showman taking center stage. "Let's get this over with," he muttered, his voice oozing confidence. The scoreboard lit up in anticipation. Shot 100, shot 299, shot 300, shot 498, shot 500. The digital screen glowed like a casino jackpot. The audience roared with every ping. His final score: 997. Just shy of perfect, but good enough to crush most competition. "Try beating that Miss Museum," he called out, flashing a cocky smile that made the live stream comment section erupt. Game over. Or ripe her self-esteem. She about to embarrass the entire civil rights movement. But Imani didn't hear the noise. She stepped up to lane 8 as if walking into prayer. She unzipped her case and revealed the vintage M1 Garand, its wooden stock, lovingly preserved iron sights, polished barrel precise as her breath. It had been her grandfather's, a World War II sharpshooter who'd served in an all-black unit and passed down more than just his weapon. He passed down grit. Imani's fingers moved with reverence. She loaded her rounds with silent focus. Around her whispers buzzed like static. "She doesn't even have a scope." "No tech. What is she, Amish?" Maybe she'll hit the wall and call it activism. But her hands were steady, her back straight, and her eyes laser sharp. The first shot rang out. Shot. The crowd paused. Second shot. 100. Third. 100. By the fourth, the room was silent. On screen, the score flashed in real time: 400. A faint gasp cut through the tension. Vanessa dropped her protein smoothie. Coach Pierce took off his glasses. Tyler Madden sat down for once without a word. Fifth shot 100. Sixth 100. Seventh 100. She didn't flinch. Didn't celebrate. Her face was carved from stone, her braids brushing her cheek as she leaned in like a sniper on mission. Eighth 100. Now the whispers had turned to murmurs of awe. The live stream exploded. She's doing it. She's rewriting the whole game. From maid to legend. My great-grandma's ghost is clapping. Ethan's confident smirk melted as he leaned forward, eyes wide. He gripped his rifle tighter. His throat moved, but no sound came. Ninth shot 100. And then, 10th. Imani inhaled deeply, blocking out the weight of every insult that had ever been hurled her way. She exhaled, squeezed. 100. The board blinked once, then flashed 1,000 new facility records. The range erupted, but not with laughter, with thunderous applause. Even the social media captions changed midstream. She shut it down. This black woman just redefined Hawthorne. 10 shots, 1 revolution. Colonel Pierce, who just hours earlier mocked her, stood slowly, eyes wide. His voice, now solemn, cracked through the mic. In my 40 years, I've never seen that kind of control, that kind of fire. He walked toward her slowly, then raised her hand above her head. This is Hawthorne's new standard. Imani blinked, letting the scoreboard settle behind her, but her voice, clear, powerful, rang out over the stunned crowd. My grandfather taught me that every time I hit a target, I'm hitting back at every gate they said I'd never walk through. And with that, the silence shattered. The audience, once united in mockery, now rose in standing ovation. The scoreboard's glow reflected in their eyes, not as a reminder of what she had broken, but what she had built. She didn't just win. She reclaimed the space. The echo of the last shot still hummed in the metal ribs of the range, but the room was already transformed. Ethan Cross stood frozen near his booth. The same man who had laughed, wagered, and belittled, now looked like someone freshly pulled from a thunderstorm, soaked in awe and shame. The digital board continued to glow. I'm Manny Washington, 1000, new record holder. The comments on the live stream were no longer jokes. They were eulogies for every arrogant assumption made in that room. She bodied Hawthorne with a rifle older than their resumes. That ain't just a win, that's generational. Tell Ethan to clean the VIP lounge with that score sheet she just erased. Tyler Madden. Once the loudest voice in the room slid back into a chair, his jaw slack. Vanessa Cole blinked rapidly, mascara smudged beneath eyes that no longer sparkled with superiority. Even Professor Vance, sharp-tongued and tighter than her tailored blazer, stepped forward with a clipboard now trembling in her grasp. Imani turned, still calm, still poised. But when she looked up into the rows of spectators, something had shifted. Now heads were bowed. Applause, still hesitant, began to ripple slow and deliberate. Not from pity, not from guilt. From respect. The first to break the silence was General Marcus Hawthorne himself, the founder of the facility, and a man so elusive he hadn't been seen at the range in months. He stepped from the executive box, his white hair sharp against his dark coat, eyes locked on Imani. You broke our record, he said, voice steady, echoing across the chamber. But more than that, you broke our arrogance. The room held its breath. I built this place to celebrate discipline, skill, and legacy. And today, a black woman walked in with an old rifle and shattered every bias hiding in our gold-plated halls. He turned to the staff and VIPs. There will be consequences, he added, eyes narrowing. Derek, Vance, Tyler, Vanessa, your conduct will be reviewed immediately. Elitism is not policy. Racism is not culture. Not under my name. The gasps weren't whispered anymore. Derek, the sneering receptionist, turned pale. Vanessa's hands clenched at her sides. Tyler looked like he might bolt. Imani, standing tall, finally spoke again. I didn't come here to prove anything, she said quietly. I came to honor the man who taught me how to shoot, who served this country, while being denied basic dignity because of the color of his skin. Her voice hardened slightly. He told me, they'll laugh at your presence until you make them listen to your precision. And now, finally, they had listened. Colonel Pierce stepped forward next the gruff Marine who had once treated her like a joke. He offered no excuses, only an open hand. That was the finest shooting I've seen in decades. He said, your grandfather would be proud, I'm proud. Imani shook his hand. Her mother, watching from the hospital bed, wept quietly as the live stream cut to the real-time feed of her daughter, being applauded by those who once mocked her. Ethan took a hesitant step forward. His signature smirk was gone. In its place, a quiet intensity. He didn't speak right away. Then, you didn't just beat me, you humbled me. Imani raised an eyebrow, waiting. I was wrong, he continued, about you, about everything. He swallowed hard, then did something no one expected. He bowed, low. To her, a billionaire heir in front of the live stream, in front of the facility staff, bowed to the black woman whose rifle and discipline had brought a titan to its knees. I'm sorry, he said, and I'd like to learn from you, if you'll let me. The live stream comments detonated. He's in love and in ruins. Billionaire bowing to the goat. We witnessed history. From range queen to heart thief. Imani gave the faintest smile, an ember glowing behind her gaze. Respect starts with seeing. She replied, today you finally looked. The crowd erupted. Coach Pierce turned to the scoreboard and removed the name that had sat at the top for years. Then he installed a new plaque beneath the screen. Imani Washington, perfect score, 1000. First black woman record holder in Hawthorne history. That plaque would never be removed. Because it wasn't just about numbers. It was about legacy. And hers had only just begun. The air at Hawthorne Elite Range was never the same after that day. Imani Washington didn't just leave with a record. She left with something far greater, a shift in the very soul of the facility. Her name blazed across the leaderboard like a flare in the dark, but it was the ripples she created outside the lanes that would last generations. News of her record spread beyond the range fast. It hit shooting forums, military circles, college campuses, even talk shows. The live stream had gone viral globally within hours, clipped and reposted with hashtags like Shazing Black Excellence, Imani the Sniper, Shazing 10 Shots Off Truth, Hawthorne Humbled. But beyond the buzz, something real happened, something structural. Hawthorne Range was forced to look in the mirror. The general, true to his word, launched a full internal audit, interviews, footage, reviews, anonymous surveys. It wasn't just Derek or Vanessa under scrutiny, it was the entire culture that had allowed such elitism and casual racism to flourish. 3 instructors were suspended. The admissions process for VIP guests was overhauled, and perhaps most shockingly, Imani was invited to lead the very change they needed. At first, she refused, not out of pride, but because she didn't trust that it was more than just PR. "I won't be your poster girl," she told General Tate in a closed-door meeting. "I'm not interested in being the face you show off to make donors feel better." He nodded because he knew she was right. So he offered something real. "Build the program yourself." He said, "Whatever it looks like. Scholarships, outreach, curriculum, it's yours. Just promise me one thing. Bring in the kids who'd never get past our front desk." That's how Project Ironsight was born. 2 months later, Hawthorne's elite marble lobby welcomed students from all over Los Angeles South Central Inglewood Watts girls and boys in worn jackets and hand-me-down shoes, each carrying the fire of someone told they'd never belong. Imani stood at the front of the classroom, not in tactical gear, not in designer brands, but in her same olive green jacket and scuffed boots, the same outfit they had laughed at. Now, it was a uniform of defiance and dignity. "You're not here to prove anything to anyone." She told the first class of Ironsight scholars, "You're here to prove to yourself that nobody can measure your worth by your shoes, your skin, or your silence." Behind her on the wall, a framed plaque hung above the whiteboard. Imani Washington, first black woman. Record holder at Hawthorne Elite, range score, 1,000, 10 shots, 0 apologies. The original rifle, her father's M1 Garand, had been restored and mounted beneath it, but still bore the same scratches and wear. When students asked why she didn't replace it, her answer never changed. "Because it still hits the mark, just like me." So, meanwhile, Ethan Cross was changing too. The billionaire heir who once mocked her, he never left the range. Not because of his ego, but because of her. He signed up for her training course under Ironsight, no VIP treatment, no private lane, just another rookie in line. He wore basic gear, took notes, asked questions, and most importantly, listened. It wasn't long before he and Imani grew closer, but not in the way anyone expected. He didn't try to impress her with cars or power. Instead, he showed up to community cleanups, helped sponsor gear for Ironsight students, and introduced her to black-owned businesses that could partner with the range. When he finally asked her out, it wasn't over dinner in a penthouse. It was over coffee, in a corner cafe. Not to date the record holder, he said, eyes sincere, but to get to know the woman who rebuilt this entire world from the ashes. She smiled, soft, real, and she said yes. 1 year later, Imani stood once again at the very lane where it had all begun. Her students lined the booths ranging from age 12 to 19. Behind them, the audience had doubled not of elite snobs, but of proud families, community leaders and curious newcomers inspired by her story. Coach Pierce now wore an Ironsight patch over his Hawthorne badge. He and General Tate had implemented new DEI standards, revamped hiring, and partnered with urban leagues across the state. Even Vanessa Cole, after a public apology, returned as a guest speaker for self-accountability and growth. The transformation was undeniable. Imani's name still crowned the leaderboard, but to her, the true legacy was below it in the rows of young shooters learning to breathe, to focus, to own their presence. And in the quiet glance she exchanged with Ethan from across the range, a love born not from pity or power, but respect earned in the furnace of public shame and personal triumph. The announcer's voice crackled over the intercom. Please welcome our keynote speaker, the Heart of Hawthorne and the founder of Iron Sight, Imani Washington. The applause thundered, but she didn't flinch. She stepped forward, held the mic, and smiled. My father once told me, she began, that people will try to erase you before they even know you. That's why our job isn't to scream louder. It's to hit the mark so clean, so sharp, so undeniably true that they're forced to rewrite history in your name. The crowd rose to their feet. The live stream blazed again. And this time the caption read, Black Woman Record Holder Mentor Legend. The video of Imani Washington's 10 perfect shots didn't just trend, it ignited a movement. By the end of the week, major news outlets were calling. CNN, MSNBC, The New York Times. Black woman silences racist elite with 10 shots of justice. Imani Washington, the sniper who rewrote the rules. But beyond headlines, something deeper stirred in America's consciousness. School shooting clubs in underserved districts began requesting partnerships with Iron Sight law enforcement departments, called asking for cultural bias training led by Imani herself. Even the U.S. Olympic shooting team extended an invitation for her to consult and later compete. Imani declined the spotlight for competition. "I'm not here to win medals," she said in a televised interview. "I'm here to open doors." She meant it. Through partnerships with grassroots organizations, she launched Iron Sight Mobile, a program that brought training gear and mentorship to cities across the country, from Atlanta to Detroit, from Compton to Newark. She rode in those vans. She trained students in abandoned gymnasiums, public parks, and even church basements, always wearing that same faded green jacket. To the world, she became more than a sharpshooter. She became a symbol, a black woman who had walked through a storm of ridicule and emerged unshaken, not by fighting back with fury, but by staying rooted in dignity and mastery. Back at Hawthorne, the staff didn't just change, they evolved. Derek, the smug receptionist, was fired, but after months of silence, he sent Imani a letter. "I didn't just misjudge you. I misjudged what strength really looks like. I'm working 2 jobs now, and for the first time, I'm earning every dollar without a name tag to hide behind. Thank you for proving me wrong." Vanessa Cole returned humbled. She asked to volunteer with Iron Sight's high school mentorship team. Even Ethan Cross, once the golden boy of Hawthorne, stepped further out of his father's shadow. He invested in Iron Sight's national expansion, but he did it quietly, refusing interviews. He didn't want credit, he just wanted to walk beside her every step. Their relationship bloomed in private. Coffee mornings, range afternoons, quiet nights, reviewing grant applications and student portfolios. It wasn't flashy, it was solid, unbreakable, like her aim. And then one morning, a bullet changed everything again. Not fired in violence, but in legacy. Imani received a letter from the National Shooting Sports Foundation nominating her for their Lifetime Contribution Award. She was 24. She laughed when she read it, Lifetime. She told Ethan, "I'm just getting started." Still, she accepted. And when she took the stage in front of the most powerful names in the industry, general CEOs, Olympic medalists, she held her old rifle like a torch. She looked out across the crowd, saw young faces, black and brown girls in the front row, eyes wide with pride, and she spoke. "When I first walked into Hawthorne Range, I was called a janitor, a charity case, a nobody with a relic rifle. But I didn't come to fight those labels with fists. I came to outshoot them, to outlast them, and I did. This rifle isn't just a weapon, it's history. It's my father's promise, my mother's prayers, and my own blood-deep belief that a black woman with a steady hand can silence generations of doubt. Today, I stand here not to be applauded, but to remind you, excellence doesn't ask for permission, dignity doesn't come from your name badge, and justice. Justice comes in quiet, steady aim." She lowered the rifle. The auditorium stood, and the thunder of applause shook the walls. Epilogue. The target remains. Years later, a bronze statue stands in the lobby of the rebranded Hawthorne Range and Community Center. It shows a young woman, her jacket slightly fluttering in an imagined breeze, her rifle resting across her back, and her eyes sculpted sharp, steady, unblinking. Imani Washington, 1999, first black woman record holder, founder of Iron Sight, mentor of a generation. Below it reads, 10 shots silenced their scorn. One woman rewrote the rules. And behind that plaque, in a frame of dark oak, hangs the target from that fateful day. 10 bullet holes so perfectly clustered that it looks like just one. Because that's what Imani was. One unbroken, unapologetic, unforgettable. If you've ever been judged by how you look, if you've ever been told you don't belong, Let Imani's story be your answer.